I first developed the keys to the White House in 1981 in collaboration with the world's leading expert in earthquake prediction, Volodya Kailis-Borak from Moscow. So it was an international collaboration. And the keys are based upon the proposition that American presidential elections are essentially votes up or down on the strength and performance of the White House party in control of the presidency. And that's what the keys are designed to gauge. There are 13 true-false questions, all of which are phrased so that an answer of true favors the re-election of the White House party. There are things like third parties, incumbency, internal party fights for the White House party, midterm elections, short and long-term economy, foreign policy successes and failures, social unrest, policy change, scandal. And only 2 keys relate to the candidates, and they're very high threshold keys. They ask whether the incumbent party candidate is one of those once-in-a-generation inspirational candidates like Franklin Roosevelt for the Democrats or Ronald Reagan for the Republicans. And then they ask whether the challenging party candidate is not one of those inspirational candidates, because an answer of true always favors the re-election of the White House party. And if 6 or more keys are false, the White House party is a predicted loser. And the keys have successfully predicted the outcome of every American presidential election since Ronald Reagan's re-election in 1984, a 40-year record encompassing 10 elections. Now, you asked me about the 2024 election based on the keys. I have not yet issued a prediction because there is still too much that's in turmoil. We have wars in the Middle East, a war in Ukraine. We have Republicans engaged in an impeachment inquiry. We have uncertainty about the economy. So there's too many keys still out for me to make a prediction yet. But let me tell you this, I can give you some insight. There's been a lot of dissatisfaction, even among Democrats, with Joe Biden. They're thinking maybe we need a different or younger candidate. But the truth is, if the Democrats want to win, they have to have Joe Biden running, and here's why. He's the incumbent presidency. That's one key. There'll be no party battle to challenge him. There are only minor challenges. That's a second key. So with Biden running, the Democrats secure those 2 keys. That means 6 out of the remaining 11 keys would have to fall to predict their defeat. If Biden doesn't run again, they don't have an incumbent. They're going to have a big party battle because there's no heir apparent. They're going to lose 2 keys right off the top. That means only 4 more keys would have to fall to predict their defeat. So what should your viewers be looking for over the next several months? Look at what's happening with the 2 wars, whether they're going to be some kind of a successful outcome or just a disaster, and look to the economy. Is the economy going to fall into recession in the election year, or there's going to be this so-called soft landing in which the economy holds up? And look and see whether there's going to be anything coming out of the impeachment inquiry into Biden by Republicans. Republicans have spent years looking into Joe Biden and have come up absolutely empty. So I don't expect anything to come out of this impeachment inquiry except things Republicans fabricate and make up. Polls 10, 11, 9 months out from the election, we know historically have no predictive value whatsoever. For example, in early polls, Jimmy Carter in 1980 was way ahead of Ronald Reagan, and Ronald Reagan won that election in a landslide. As late as May of the election year, Michael Dukakis, the Democratic candidate, was 18 points ahead of the Republican candidate, George H.W. Bush. Bush went on to win handily. You had more than a 20-point swing. That's why I discount early polls. Even late polls are not predictive. A lot of the late polls in 2012 were predicting the Republican challenger Mitt Romney would beat President Barack Obama, but Obama went on to a pretty easy victory. Let me say this about Donald Trump, though. He has a unique situation when it comes to approval ratings. For 8 years, since he emerged as a Republican candidate in 2015, his approval rating hasn't moved. It's been around 40%, a little over 40%, a little under. It hasn't gone down to 30, it hasn't gone over 50. And it doesn't matter what he does. It never really changes. However, we now have Donald Trump facing 91 felony counts. We haven't seen anything like that for a major party candidate. And if he is convicted of serious felonies before the election, who knows how that might shake things up for Donald Trump and finally, torpedo his approval rating. You in the media have to write a story every day. And the polls make it easy because they make believe there's this horse race with candidates pulling ahead and falling behind. You don't even have to get out of bed in the morning to write a story about the polls. It's the easiest thing in the world. And unfortunately, the media is obsessed with these polls. And we get, all of these, either panicky or not panicky stories about what these long-term, way out polls are showing. Democracy is precious, but like all precious things, it can be destroyed, typically from within, not without. The first golden age of democracy was right after World War I. You had very few democracies before that in the history of the world. After World War I, you had about 24 democracies. By the early to mid-1940s, you were down to 10 or 11 democracies. The number of democracies had been cut in half. So democracy can be destroyed, particularly from within, and I do think democracy is in peril. According to my keys, if enough goes against the White House party and Joe Biden, any Republican, including Donald Trump, will win. And if Donald Trump wins, then I think our democracy could be in very, very serious trouble. And beyond that, it's not just Trump. Trump's ideologies and attitudes, his authoritarianism, his racism, his anti-Semitism, his denigration of immigrants, that's become infected deeply within the Republican Party. The Republican Party now reflects Trump's views. This idea of mainstream, anti-Trump Republicans, they're gone. Governing, not campaigning, counts. That's my big message. Traditional campaigning doesn't help. And their keys have a message on how you should campaign. If you're the incumbent party, you've got to campaign on your record. Convince the American people that you've done good things for them and will continue to do good things for them. If you are the challenging party candidate, campaign on what you're going to do for the American people. If you win, then you'll have a mandate for your policies. And if you lose, at least you'll have some kind of influence.